understands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your
Good morning. Welcome to the Quest Church. Y'all stand with us. Put your hands together. Come on. Do you see what I see? Come on. Do you see what I see? See lightning, I hear thunder. Something stirring 6 feet under. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Come on. I see signs and I see wonders. I see bursts of living color. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Come on, hands up. Come alive. Wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Come on, sing. Hallelujah, it is finished. See the grave, nobody in it. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Come alive. Wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Paradise flow wide open. He is risen. We are risen with him. Come alive. Wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Paradise flung wide open. He is risen. We are risen with him. Come on, now put your hands together. If you see what I see, anything is possible. Come on. If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, then you know what I know. Anything is possible. If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, then you know what I know. Anything is possible. Do you see what I see? Yeah. Do you see what I see? Hey. Do you see what I see? I see signs and I see wonders. I see lightning, I hear thunder. There's something stirring 6 feet under. Come alive. Wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Paradise flow wide open. He is risen. We are risen with him. Y'all make some noise this morning. Come on.
You hold every star, and you hold my heart.
so much for being here this morning, for joining us and singing. You may be seated.
Hi, good morning. My name is Amber, and I'd like to welcome each of you in the building and those of you online to the Quest. We're so excited that you've chosen to spend Sunday with us as Pastor Aaron starts a brand new series called No Offense. When you walked in the building today, you should have been handed a worship guide. For those of you watching online, you can access the worship guide on the homepage of our website. Inside, you will find message notes, information about upcoming events, as well as a communication card. For all of you in the building, if you would go ahead and pull out that communication card and at least write your name on it. Our church staff prays over these cards each week, so we will be praying for you. If you're a first-time attender or even a second-time attender today, we would love for you to fill out as much information on that card as you feel comfortable with, but we'd especially like to know how you heard about the Quest. If you flip that card on the back side, there are some next steps that you might be interested in taking, as well as the place for prayer requests. Here at the Quest, we take prayer requests very seriously. We do have a special team of people who pray over these cards each week. But if for some reason that's more confidential, just check that box, and then only Pastor Jim and your gathering pastor will see those requests. At the end of the gathering, if you will take those cards and drop them in one of the .com boxes located around the room, that stands for donations, commitments, and communications. There are also giving envelopes on your table if you came prepared to give today. We also have online giving or text giving. You can search the Quest RC in your app store for that. Finally, if this is the first time that you're here with us today, we're so glad that you're here, and we would love for you to leave with a special gift. So on your way out the door, if you will stop by the information wall, you can grab any of the books or Bibles back there just as a special gift for spending your Sunday with us. So y'all enjoy the rest of the service.
Well, good morning, Quest Church. Man, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to say a special thank you to everybody tuning in online. I know this is a busy time of year. Kids start getting out of school. There's a lot of end of school year stuff going on, and you're watching online. There's probably a celebrity trial you could be watching right now or something. And so, man, just so grateful that you would take time out of your weekend to join us. My name's Aaron Larimore. I get the privilege of being the youth pastor here. And as Amber said, we're kicking off a brand new series called No Offense. And so let's have some fun this morning. Can I get a show of hands? How many of you would say that you're not easily offended? Like, you got pretty thick skin. You don't let a whole lot get to you. All right, keep your hands up. Raise them up real high so I can see you. You're not easily offended. Awesome. If you got your hand up, you're a liar. And if that offends you a little bit, kind of prove my point, right? Listen, no offense, okay? I'm just messing with you this morning. But haven't you noticed how easily offended people can be in our world today? I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, it's getting so hard to even have a conversation with somebody because you don't know what might set them off. You don't know what might offend them. And we've got some issues in our world today that are big topics, big issues that probably should be discussed, but you can't talk about those because you don't know where they land on that, right? You can't talk about politics. You can't talk about gender or sexual issues. You can't talk about, vaccines, and you can't talk about, all sorts of things, gun laws. I mean, you name it. You can't talk about those things. You'll offend somebody. And you would think, okay, those are the big topics. Like, I get some of those, you got to tread softly. But even like small topics that you would think are safe, you can easily offend somebody. I mean, people can get easily offended over their favorite sports teams, right? Their favorite vehicle brand. I mean, if I talked bad about the Cowboys and Chevys this morning, some of y'all would leave the church, right? My pastor would fire me if I talk about it. He's mad that I even would hint at that, right? So I'm not even going to go down that road, right? We live in a very easily offended world. Man, our culture is very hypersensitive. And it seems like the group of people that are the most sensitive and easily offended are Christians. Christians can be some of the most hypersensitive, easily offended people in today's world. And it's like, why is that? Why are Christians so easily offended? Well, maybe it's part of our job. Maybe it's part of our job as Christians. We need to gripe about the things that are wrong in our culture, and we need to call out sin, and we need to stand for truth. I mean, maybe it's part of our job to get angry over all the wrong that's going on in our world. I don't know about you, but I always can tell the person that loves Jesus the most by how angry they are, right? It's like when I read that post or I see, and they're just so fired, I'm like, they really love Jesus, man. You see how upset they are? They really love Jesus. And the reality is that there's so many issues in our world today. There's so many offenses out there that it creates great division, right? And every one of the topics, these big issues that we have in our world, even some that I just mentioned, right? There's always two sides. There's the right side and the wrong side, right? There's the side where it's like, this is correct, this is wrong. I mean, and so it's got us in a place where there's so much division. Any issue you can think of, it's, well, I'm on this side, right? And if you're on that side, then you're wrong. So much division in our world today. It's like, what do we do with that? Is there any even hope for any sort of unity and peace in our world? What should our response be to this world that we live in? What should our response be to all this, offensive things in our world today? If you're here today and you're a Christ follower, you claim to be a Christian, what should your response be to all the injustice and sin in the world? If you're here today and you're like, I'm not a Christ follower, I don't claim to be a Christ follower, it may be because you know some Christ followers and they're super sensitive and easily offended and they're right about everything, and so it's turned you away. What should our response be to this? So today, what we're going to do is really more than kicking off a 5-week series. I want to ask you and encourage you to look at this a little bit differently. I don't want you to look at this as just another series. I want you to look at this more of like a training regimen, like a 5-week training program. And over the course of the next 5 weeks, what I'm going to attempt to do is give us the skills and the tools that we need to reach our goal of living unoffendable lives. My goal for you and I in this 5 weeks is literally to reach a place where even with all the things that are going on in our world today, you can't be offended. Like, you literally cannot be offended. You are living unoffendable. And I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, Aaron, that's dumb. I know it, right? You're thinking that's stupid. That's like, okay, that's cute, a little church message or whatever. Like, you can't live unoffendable, Aaron. That's dumb. You can't do that. And if you're thinking that, that's offensive because I've worked really hard on this, okay? So I'm going to do this training with you, all right? I probably need to warn you, though, up front, okay? Over the next 5 weeks, I can pretty much guarantee you at some point I'm going to offend you if I haven't already. I want to get that out up front. At some point over the next 5 weeks, I'm probably going to say something that's going to irritate you a little bit. It's probably going to offend you. But I hope that you hear my heart on this. My goal in this series is not to be offensive just for the sake of being offensive. In fact, I'll just tell you this in complete honesty. Part of what I've worked really hard on is to look at it from that angle. And I've even asked the guys on our staff as we look through these messages, hey, call me out if I put anything in these messages that seems offensive just for the sake of being offensive. That is not my goal. I don't want to offend you just to offend you. My goal is to help all of us let go of some anger, drop some of these offenses, to help us maybe heal from some bitterness that may be rooted up in us. My goal really is to help you and I find the freedom that comes with living a life that's unoffendable, freedom and forgiveness. And I say freedom, living this way, because I don't know if you've ever stopped to think about how much time you spend being offended. It may actually surprise you. In fact, I want you to do this tomorrow, on Monday. I want you to keep a mental track, or maybe even keep a tally of how many times you start to feel yourself get a little irritated tomorrow, okay? And some of you are like, Aaron, you don't know my job. Can we pick another day, right? But I want you to do this because it may shock you. It may shock you how much time you spend being offended. I did this the other day. I counted 34 times in one day that I started to feel myself get offended. And that was my day off. I didn't even go to work, man. 34 times. So imagine if you could literally get to a place where you're just not offended. You just can't be offended. I mean, if nothing else, this will get you some free time, right? This will free up some mental space to think about other things. It might even help us to interact with people better. We may be able to have better relationships. It might help us to love others and serve others better. If you're a Christian, it may help us even become more like Jesus if we can get this down. And so to kick off our training this morning, I want to show you something that may come off a little offensive if you consider the world that we're living in today. It comes from a guy named James. James was the brother of Jesus, okay? So Jesus came to earth, fully God, fully man, born of a Virgin Mary. So he had, regular family life stuff going on. He had brothers and sisters. So James is his brother. And James writes something that when you really consider this, it's almost like humorous how unrealistic this sounds. Let me read it to you. It's in James chapter 1, verse 19. James says, "Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters." So far, so good, okay? Side note, if you're ever reading Scripture and the author of Scripture, the writers of that Scripture, if they say, "Hey, my dear brothers and sisters," that's code for like buckle up. It always starts off nice, but they're about to break one off into you, okay? You see that? Just know where you're headed, okay? Listen to what James says. He says, "You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry." Does that sound anything like the world that we live in today? Our culture is very quick to speak up, very, very quick to lash out, right? Very slow to listen, especially if it's coming from the other side, and very, very quick to get angry. You read that and it's like, really, James? Like, that's the best you can? I don't know. I read it and I'm like, really? Like, that made it in the Bible? Like, I could do something, I could write something better than that, right? Really, James? Like, where'd you get this great idea? Oh, just be, slow to speak. Not speak slowly, but like slow to speak, quick to listen, to me, you read that and it's like, was James just shooting for like a Hobby Lobby sign or something, right? Like, he's like, oh, this will make a great, Christian t-shirt. It's like that just doesn't even sound right. But here's the thing, this challenge that James has given us is not something that he was just like, oh, they're gonna put this on a coffee mug someday. This is not what his intention was here. See, James challenges us to live this way because he experienced firsthand what living this unoffendable life looked like. He saw his brother Jesus live this way, live in a way that he was slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to become angry. He watched Jesus live an unoffendable life, and evidently it had enough impact on James that he challenges us to live this way as well. And so why would James do this, man? What's the reason here? Why would James take up expensive ink and paper to tell us to do these things, to be slow to anger? Or if you think about anger never stays the same. And it never stays where you left it. Anger's like a 2-year-old. Like, they never stay where you leave them. You ever left a 2-year-old and then you come back and they're not there? No? Okay. You're better than me. All right, whatever. But like anger never stays put. Anger never just stays in the little issue that the offense that you had it in. It always has a way of growing and escalating and moving around. Let me see if I can explain it. So, the things that I used to get angry about, when I look back at it, I'm like, those are small things. Those are little things. Like I used to get so angry driving and in traffic. And especially when I'm going to pick my kids up from school, like, oh, what is it? Like, real quick, if you do kid drop off and pick up, what is it about pickup that'll make you lose your mind? Like, you can have a great day. You know what I'm talking? You can have a great day. You go pick your kids up from school and you get home, you're like, I just want to go to bed. I just want to go. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Like, I don't know what it is. Anyway, I sidetracked there. Listen, so when I'm in traffic, especially going to get the kids from school, and it's like we're all going to the same place. And so, but everybody's coming from different directions. And we're all trying to get to the same place at 3:20 or 3:30, whatever it is, right? We're all trying to get to the same place, pick up our little heathen kids. And there's just kind of this unspoken courtesy. There's this unspoken law where if we're all trying to get to the same place and our two roads intersect, then this car goes, then this car goes, then this car goes. You know what I'm talking about? It's just common freaking courtesy. And what irritates me is when I let you in and you don't give me one of these. Just give me, I'm not asking I just let you in out of the kindness and goodness of my heart. If you don't give me one of these, you're going to get one, you know what I'm saying? You don't give me one, you're going to get a peel of the banana. Read between the lines, one way to Jesus. That used to bother me. That stuff used to, I don't pick up the kids anymore, in case you're wondering. But that was small things, right? Listen, I used to even get offended on other people's behalf. You ever done this? Like you ever watch somebody be wronged and then you get upset for them? We were, the staff and I, we were at a conference recently, and at this conference, there's a point where you go to these breakout sessions, and so it's kind of like a small group. And so you're in a room, there's a pastor or a leader, and he's teaching you some things, and you're just in a small room, and so we're in this room listening to this guy, and there's probably, 20, 30 of us in this room. And the gentleman's already started his teaching. And we're sitting there, and this guy shows up late, walks in late. Now listen, every decent human person knows that when you show up late to something and there's a small room, you just quietly stand in the back. Hey, we all run late sometimes. You just stand in the back. It's cool. Not this guy. This guy made it to the front row. So he's already late. This guy's already talking, and so he's distracting everyone. He sits down on the front row, and then this guy's phone starts going off. And it's like, dude, did you just not wake up this morning and not realize, I'm going to go to a thing where a guy's going to be talking. I should probably put my phone on silent. You knew what you were doing today. Why isn't your phone on silent? And this guy's phone's going off, and he's, how do I say this without being offensive? He's older, he's an older guy. And you know how the more mature people have their phones always up really, really loud? I think you cross a certain age, AT&T's here, you get this setting on your phone. Because their phones are always so dang loud. And so this guy's sitting front row, and his phone's, going off, and it's you can't even not, acknowledge. It's really? This guy here? And so I'm okay, he's going for his phone. He's going to shut it off, get it, get that thing on silent quick. And so he does this. Hello. I'm are you insane? Do you even have a soul? Do you have character at all? Are you kidding me? That stuff used to bother me, okay? I don't let that stuff get to me anymore. It's just whatever, okay? See, here's what I'm getting at. Anger, it's okay, that was small things, but anger doesn't just stay there. Anger has a way of moving around and following you around, and then when big issues come up, the big issues in our world today, then anger's there, right? There's anger over vax or no vax, mask or no mask. There's anger over censorship and like I said, gender, sexuality issues, gun control, abortion. Anger's found its way into these big, heavy topics. And I don't know what that thing is for you, but we all have that thing. We all have that thing that we get easily offended by. It's that issue that gets under your skin. I don't know what it is for you, but we all have got one. We've all got these things where it's okay, these issues, it's whatever. Yeah, I have an opinion on it, but it's not really a big deal to me. But then there's those issues going on in our world today. You're I get frustrated when I hear the other side of that. It's that thing that makes you, put that post on Facebook. You would never go on an angry rant on Facebook. I know you wouldn't. But when that issue comes up, oh man, you're on it, right? It's that issue that, makes you get a shirt or something. Make sure everybody know where you stand. I don't know what that is for you, but we've all got that issue. Listen, if you're having a hard time figuring out what that issue is, it's that thing that you're angry about, and you're so angry about that you're angry that other people aren't angry about the thing that you're angry about. You know what I'm saying? You're so angry, why are more people not upset about this? It's that thing. And listen, I don't want to make you angry today, but some of you kind of like it. You kind of like being angry. You don't like the offense, but there's something enjoyable about being angry. And especially if you're part of a group, a larger group, and you're all worked up about the same thing, that feels really good. There's something enjoyable about all of us being on this side. There's something that makes you feel morally superior. It just kind of feels good. We're on this side, they're on that side. Right? We're the good guys, they're the bad guys, they're evil, They're an idiot. They're an evil idiot, you know. I don't know what that thing is for you, but let me ask you, how effective is your anger? Is your anger working? Is it changing anybody's mind? Is your anger solving the offense? Let me see, how are we feeling? Can I push you a little bit today? We feeling okay? We good? All right, you asked for it. You know, did the Facebook post that you put, did it make them stop getting the vaccine? Did it make them rush out and go get it, whichever, post you posted? Did the shirt you wore and the flag you flew, did it change their political view? Did that tweet you tweeted, you little Tweety bird, did it cause them to wake up and go, I'm not gay? How effective is your anger? Is it creating more unity? Is it creating more peace? Is it drawing people in, or is it pushing people further away? Is it creating more division? And you may say, well, I don't care. I want them away from me. And that's fine as long as you're not a Christ follower. But if you're a Christ follower, that don't fly. Is your anger drawing people closer to Jesus, or is it pushing them further away? Is your anger actually making people go, you know what, I want to know more about this God that you serve? Because of how you live, I want to know more about Jesus. Or is your anger making them say, I want nothing to do with anything they got going on? Here's what James says. He says, understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. And look at this. He says, human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. Your anger and my anger over the small offense or the major betrayal, your anger over the person with the wrong political view, your anger over the guy that flipped you off, your anger at showing up the week the youth pastor's preaching, like whatever it is, okay, whatever that offense is, your anger and my anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. And I know what you might be thinking. You've got a loophole. You say, well, hold on, Aaron. My anger is a righteous anger because I'm angry over sin. Okay, I get that. But have you ever noticed when somebody's righteously angry over sin, it's almost never their own sin? More times than not, when somebody's like righteously angry over sin in our world, they're never righteously angry over their own sin. If we're honest, you may not have righteous anger, you might have self-righteous anger. It's really easy to get upset and get offended and criticize their foul language and ignore our spiritual pride. It's really easy to sit back and judge their sexual sin and ignore our gluttony. Have I offended you yet? Because if not, I'm coming for you. We got 5 weeks. I'll get you eventually. We tend to think our anger is justified because it's our anger. It's our anger. We're right. They're wrong. But how effective is your anger? Is it making any difference? Is it changing anybody's mind? Is it bringing more peace into your home? Or is your home just filled with righteous anger? Is it bringing more peace in your marriage? Is it something that your kids see? Is your anger something that your kids see and they want to emulate? Listen, here's the reality. We have to come to a place where when we get offended, we have to make a choice. When we get offended, we got to decide, do I want to make a point or do I want to make a difference? Do I want to make a point or do I want to make change? Do I want to make a difference? And too many people just want to make a point. And if we're honest, Christians are probably the worst. Too many of us want to gripe about culture, gripe about change, gripe about differences, but all we really care about is making a point. If we really want to see change, if we really want to make a difference, then we got to have a different attitude. We got to have a different approach when it comes to offenses. And so let me talk to all the angry Christians in the room that I've offended, okay? Listen, as a Christ follower, what do you care about winning more? Winning an argument or winning people for Jesus? And if you say, I care more about winning people for Jesus, sometimes that means you just need to lose the argument. What do you care more about? There's a story in the New Testament of your Bible where this really, really wise guy, this really smart guy, goes to Jesus, and essentially he's asking Jesus, hey, what's the main thing? Like all the things that are going on in our world, all the things that I care about, all the things that I should be caring about, like what's the main thing? What's the big issue? What's the hill to die on, right? What's that main thing that I need to make sure that I'm laser focused in on? What's the main thing? And Jesus says this in Matthew 22. He says, the main thing is you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And he says, a second is equally important to this. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus explains the most important thing. If you're going to narrow this thing down, what's the most important thing I need to be laser focused in on? Love God and love his people. And the way that you love God, and the way that you worship him, and the way that you serve him, oftentimes it looks like loving and serving his people, and showing compassion, showing mercy, and loving his people, showing his goodness to others. And if you consider that, you don't have to be angry to do that. Like, you don't have to be pissed off to love God and love people. Sorry, ticked off, no offense. But I wonder, can you even love God and love people and be angry at the same time? Jesus did not call us to be right. He called us to be loving. Jesus didn't call us to go out and make a point. He called us to go out and make disciples. He called us to go out and point people to him. He didn't call us to win arguments. He called us to serve and love and win people for his kingdom. And you may think, well, okay, it's easy to live like that if you just never stand for anything. If you just live somewhere in the middle and you just never have conviction about anything, you just never have a strong opinion about the things in our world today. Listen, that's not what I'm saying. I have some very, very strong opinions about the things that are going on in our world today. There are things that are going on in our world today that I would say I strongly agree with this approach, and there are things going on in our world that I would say I absolutely disagree with this. I think it's sin. But I don't want my opinions of these peripheral things to override my call to serve and love Jesus and to show the love of Jesus. The most important thing is to love God and love people. And so while I have some strong convictions and some strong opinions about this thing and this thing, I agree with this, I disagree with that. At the end of the day, I don't want that to cloud my call to love God and love others. I'm not sure that I've ever been effective in reaching people for Jesus when I led with anger. The most effective people aren't leading with anger. Okay, how about this? Anybody watch UFC or MMA in here? You're like, I'm not raising my hand after that shenanigan you pulled earlier, right? It's fine. I like watching UFC, MMA. If that offends you, then I don't know. No offense. But I can't ever afford to watch it, so I watch the highlights. So if you want to gift me like a pay-per-view package, that's... Anyway, when you watch these fighters, more times than not, the fighters that are the most effective are the ones that keep their cool. It's usually when the fighter allows the opponent to get under his skin, when the opponent takes some shots personally or whatever, and that other fighter starts to let that offend him and he starts to get angry, that's typically where they start to lose effectiveness. The most effective soldiers, the most effective police officers, they're effective in the midst of injustice because they're not leading with anger. They're keeping their cool. They're surrounded by injustice, but they keep their cool. The most effective followers of Jesus are not reaching people with their anger. They're reaching people with their love. They're not trying to make a point. They're trying to make a difference. They're not leading with anger. They're leading with love. And so how do we begin to do this? How do we begin to set aside some offenses and begin to lead with love? How do we begin to drop this and let go of our anger? Here's what I want to do with the time that we got left. I want to give you two very quick, simple tools that I think you can start using today. You can start using right now, and it'll have immediate impact. I think you start using these two tools that I'm going to show you right now, it'll immediately help you let go of some anger, drop some offenses, and I honestly think help you live more like Jesus called us to live. when we find ourselves in the midst of a world where there's all these offenses, there's all these things to get easily offended at, the first thing we got to do is this. Number one, lower your expectations of others. Just lower your expectations of others. Here's what I mean by that. You have expectations on people that you would never put on yourself. You've got standards for other people that you don't even live up to. You judge yourself on your intentions, and you judge others by their actions. I do the same thing, right? If I'm driving like an idiot and I cut you off, I'm not a bad guy. I'm just late for my little girl's volleyball practice. But when you do it, you're an a-hole, right? I'm just saying, like, we do this. Like, lower your expectations of others. Here's the reality. I hope I'm not spoiling anything here for you, but sometimes people will mess up. Sometimes people will let you down. Sometimes people won't say thank you. Sometimes people won't text you back. Sometimes people won't show up to that thing that was important for you. And it's like, what'd you expect? Why was your expectation so high? Have you ever done that? You ever dropped the ball? We're so shocked sometimes when humans act like humans. We're shocked when sinful people sin. We got to lower our expectations of others. If you want to know what to expect from people, I love what the Apostle Paul says in 2 Timothy. If you want to know what to expect from people, check this out. Paul says, people will love only themselves and their money. They'll be boastful and proud, scoffing at God, disobedient to their parents, and ungrateful. They'll consider nothing sacred. They'll be unloving and unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self-control. They'll be cruel and hate what is good. They'll betray their friends. They'll be reckless, puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God. And we get offended when they don't text us back. It's crazy when you step back and consider it. Like, why are we so shocked? Why are we so shocked when people let us down? People will mess up. People will let you down. Listen, I hate to break it to you, but the people that you love and care about the most, they'll let you down. The people that you would never expect to let you down will let you down. The staff here at the Quest, guess what? We're going to let you down. And honestly, it's probably going to be me because I work with some pretty incredible people. I almost guarantee it's going to be me. I will let you down. We got 5 weeks together. If I haven't offended you so much where you're not coming back next week, I might be preaching to an empty room next week. I don't know. But look, at some point, I'm just going to say it. Like, at some point in these 5 weeks, I'm not going to meet your expectations. I'm going to let you down. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to be like, that wasn't what I really thought. But listen, since I'm up front with that, will you be up front with me about something? When that happens, it could be today. When you're disappointed and I let you down, don't put that on God. Just make a deal with me. When I screw up and I let you down over this series, don't blame God. Don't blame the church. God didn't let you down. The church didn't let you down. I'm a human. And people will let you down. People will mess up. And Jesus, who was always right about everything and had every right to be offended, was never shocked by people's sin. He was never shocked by people's pride and self-centeredness. He was never, taken back by people's immoral behavior. When he met a woman who had been with 5 different men and she was with her 6th and shacking up with this guy that she wasn't married with, he wasn't like, oh, I don't believe in that. That's not my lifestyle. Get away from me. I can't wait to tell Peter and John in Connect Group. It's not gossip, it's prayer. He didn't do that. He loved her. When the disciples would constantly screw up and fail and be selfish, Jesus wasn't shocked by that. When Peter denies even knowing Jesus, Jesus wasn't like, I'm putting this all over Facebook. Like, when the disciples would sit there and argue over who's the greatest while Jesus is trying to teach them something, he didn't quit his Connect group. He was never shocked by sin. He would just continue to forgive them and forgive them and forgive them and love them and continue to love them. We got to lower our expectations of others. Sinful people will sin. The second thing is this: raise your gratitude for God's grace. So we're going to lower our expectations of others, and we need to raise our gratitude for God's grace. Paul says in Ephesians that God saved you by his grace when you believed. And you can't take credit for this. It's a gift from God. Salvation is not a reward for the good things we've done, so none of us can boast about it. There's not a single person in this room, a single person watching online that can stand up and say they deserve anything from God. There's not a single one of us. The best person in here, if you think it's you, then good for you. The best person in here cannot stand before a holy God and earn right standing with God based on how good you are. None of us deserve the love of God. It's a gift. We've all lied. We've all cheated. We've all envied. We've all gossiped. We've all farted in an elevator and blamed it on somebody else, you know? You've done it. And we've all been given the chance to be in right standing with God based solely on his grace. None of us earn his love. It is purely his grace. It's a gift. We've all received that purely out of his goodness. We've got to raise our gratitude for God's grace. And you may be thinking, but Aaron, listen, man, like, they lied. I've lied. Aaron, they stole from me. I've stolen. Aaron, they're so arrogant. I can be extremely arrogant. And I'm going to stop listing my sins, but you get my point, okay? We've all messed up. None of us deserve anything from God. And so listen, I don't want to minimize any hurt that you may be enduring, okay? Please hear my heart on that. I'm not trying to make fun of or belittle any major offense that you've encountered in your life. I'm not trying to say that there aren't some things in this room that have cut very, very deep. That's not what I'm saying. Please hear me on that. But what I am saying is that no matter the offense, big or small, there is always the feeling of I'm right and they're wrong. And you know what? You may be 100% correct. But big offense or small offense, there is always the feeling of I'm in the right and they're wrong. And if we're not mindful of that, if we're not careful with that, we'll find ourselves carrying a heavy stone. In Jesus' time, the way that they would deal with sin, the way they would deal with offenses and wrongdoing is the righteous, the right people, they would take heavy stones and they would punish the wrongdoer. And they would literally stone that person, stone them to death. If we're carrying around our anger, our offense, we'll find ourselves carrying a heavy stone. They embarrassed my kid. And they maybe did. They spread rumors about me that weren't true. Now everybody thinks this of me. They have the wrong political view. They took the vaccine. They didn't take the vaccine. They're still wearing a mask. They're not wearing a mask. They lied to me. They think gender is this. They have this view on sexuality. I'm right, and they're wrong. I'm right, and they're absolutely wrong. There's a story in John chapter 8 that I want you to read this week for yourself. In this story, there's a woman literally caught in the act of sin, caught in the act of adultery. 100% wrong, 100% sin. And she can't even deny it. She was caught in the act. And the people that caught her, who were right, they pick up heavy stones and get ready to deliver the punishment. And Jesus shows up, and he's not shocked. He's not taken back by this woman. And he's like, all right, guys, what's the situation here? Well, she's wrong, and we're right, and we have a right to stone her. She was caught in adultery. And Jesus essentially says, you know what? You're right. She's wrong. And you guys are right. So here's what we're going to do. the one of you that's never messed up, not just in this area of sin, but any sin, the one of you that's never sinned, you go ahead and you throw the first stone. And one by one, these men walk away. There are a lot of things in our world today to be offended by. You've probably already been offended today. There are so many things in our world today to be right about. I'm right, they're wrong, and you may be absolutely right. But really angry people have a really hard time making a difference. And if we carry a stone, if we carry our anger long enough, at some point, Jesus might tap us on the shoulder and go, what did you expect? Why were your expectations so high? Have you ever screwed up? Maybe not in that way. But have you ever offended somebody? Lower your expectations. And you know what? Raise your gratitude for God's grace. And Jesus might remind us, and you know what? Because God loved you when you were unlovable, and because God, who is perfectly just and right, chose to show you forgiveness and mercy and love, because of that, drop the stone. Drop the stone. Jesus did not call us to be right. He called us to be loving. And as a Christ follower, my goal cannot be to make a point. My goal's got to be to make a difference. And I can't make a difference if I'm angry, because my human anger and your human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. And if you're here today and you're not a Christ follower, sincerely, if that's because of Christians, I'm so sorry. Because I have not represented Christ very well. I'll take full responsibility. I guarantee you I'm probably the worst Christian in this room. I have not represented Christ very well. I am easily offended, and I carry around anger. And if you're here today and you say, I'm not a Christ follower because you know a Christian, can I just tell you that we have not done a good job. And I hope that you'll stick this series out, because one of the things I hope to show you is that in a lot of ways, God is nothing like Christians. When Christians are easily offended, super sensitive and angry, that's not God. God is love, and he loves you. And I want to show you that through this series. Our goal cannot be to try to convert those to our view on some peripheral issues. Our goal has got to be to show the love of Jesus so that their life is changed. I don't know about you, but I didn't change my life on my own. I couldn't. It took Jesus, and they're not going to change their life on their own. Even if they're wrong and you're right, they're not going to change on their own. They're going to need Jesus, and you can't change them. So stop trying. Point them to the one who can. I want my life to be marked by the difference I made, not the arguments I won. And I'm willing to bet you want that too. So let's get this right. Let's get this right, man. Let's be a people that in our community, in our neighborhoods, that people look at us and they go, man, the people of the Quest, they're not easily offended at all. They're like unoffendable. Like they're not shocked by my sin. They're not mad at me because I have a different view. They just love me. I'm going to go check that place out. I'm going to find out about this Jesus. And then life change. Let's get this right, man. So will you commit today with me? I'm going to do this journey with you. Will you commit with me today that over the next several weeks to do this training? And let's get this right. Let's reach our goal of living unoffendable. Let me pray for you. Father God, I thank you so much for your love and your goodness to us. Father, I thank you that while you have every right to be offended and angry in our sin because we've wronged you, we've rebelled against you, and God, you had every right to condemn us. You have every right to pour out wrath. But God, you chose forgiveness. You chose love. And God, you chose to take our payment and put it on your own Son so that we could be in right standing with you, so that we could follow Jesus, and live the life that you called us to live. And Father, I mess that up so often. God, I do not always represent your son Jesus well. And so, Father, would you help us? God, we know that you called us to so much more. We were meant to live for so much more. And God, I am so guilty of missing it. So, Father, I want to humbly ask that over these next few weeks, God, would you work on the hearts of myself and the people of the Quest Church so that we could reach a place where we are quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. God, that we are living unoffendable. So that way we're not just winning arguments, God, we're winning people for your kingdom and truly living out our calling. Father, we trust in you for this work. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Fumbling his confidence and wondering why the world has passed him by. Hoping that he's bent for more than arguments and failed attempts to fly. We were meant to live for so much more. Have we lost ourselves? Somewhere we live inside. Somewhere we live inside. We were meant to live for so much more. Have we lost ourselves? Somewhere we live inside. Dreaming about providence and whether mice or men have second tries. Maybe we've been living with our eyes half open. Maybe we're bent and broken. We were meant to live for so much more. And we lost ourselves. Somewhere we live inside. Somewhere we live inside. We were meant to live for so much more. And we lost ourselves. Somewhere we live inside. More than this world's got to offer. We want more than this world's got to offer. We want more than the wars of our fathers. And everything inside screams for second life. Yeah, we were meant to live for so much more. And we lost ourselves. We were meant to live for so much more. And we lost ourselves. We were meant to live for so much more. And we lost ourselves. We were meant to live. We were meant to live. We were meant to live.
Man, outstanding. Thank you so much, worship team, and thank you guys for joining us this morning. And man, what a powerful message. What a way to launch into this series this morning as Pastor Aaron brought some tough truths, sometimes some things that are difficult for us Christians to absorb, right? Because we've missed the mark. We've messed it up far too many times. And for those of you who are here in this room, Pastor Aaron addressed you. You know, maybe you've said no to this thought of Christianity or following Jesus. Because, man, if that's the way God is, and I don't want anything to do with that. Can I share some of that blame with Aaron? Can we, the Quest Church, those of us who follow Jesus, share some of that blame with Aaron this morning? And for those of you who are on this fence, Man, can we promise you that God is good, that God is love, that he gave his one and only son for you. Man, that's love. And that's a free gift. That's his grace that he mentioned this morning. So if you're not there yet, but if you're curious, if you're wondering, you have questions, okay, I've seen these guys. They've admitted they got it wrong. What's it mean to get it right? What does it actually mean to be a follower of Jesus? If that's you this morning, do me a favor right now. Pull out that comm card you got in the worship guide when you came in. Make sure you fill that out. On the front side, put your name, put your mailing address for me as well. And if you'll put a little check mark, flip it over on the back side, there's a spot where it says, send me information about becoming a follower of Jesus. Not a follower of Christians, a follower of Jesus. Then we're going to get an incredible tool into your hand. It's a New Believer's Bible. It's got some questions right up front. You open this thing up, maybe questions and doubts that you have floating around in your mind right now, answers to those questions, and then it dives right into the New Testament teachings of Jesus, of our God, of our King and Creator who is love and who did get it right, despite the fact that we get it so wrong so many times. So fill that out for me. Drop it in the .com box on your way out this morning, and we will put this in the mail to you. And do me a favor as well. If you've requested a New Believer's Bible from us and you haven't received that, grab a hold of me after this gathering. I'll be happy to put ones in your hands. My name is Shelby Steiner. I had the privilege of serving here as a gathering pastor for Second Gathering and filling in for Josh Hartman this morning for you. So just grab a hold of me. Let me know. We'll get that Bible in your hands. A couple more things before we send you off for the week. So we've got another Kids Quest meeting. We had one right underneath this gathering. It's already camp time, parents. Like, we're a few weeks away from sending these kiddos off to summer camp, but you have to make sure you attend the camp meeting next door. So that's going to be in our lower room right after this, right underneath our second gathering at 11 o'clock. So parents, if you've got kiddos and you want to send them off for a week so you can breathe and they can have some fun at Kids Camp, make sure you attend next door with us in the lower room. And then coming up as well, this evening at 4:30, we've got our partnership seminar. I'll get back to that one, Dion. Thank you, brother. We've got our partnership seminar coming up this evening at 4:30. We're going to give you a meal. We're going to take care of the kiddos for you. Come hang out with us for a few hours this evening, okay? We're going to kind of unpack what is the Quest Church. You may have heard us say we exist to proclaim the good news and offer help for life's hurts. What does that mean? How do we do that? We'll unpack all of that for you, and then you'll have an opportunity to partner up with us here at the Quest Church. Again, that's tonight at 4:30. You still have time to register. Let us know so that we can prepare a great meal for you. And then lastly, we've got one of our local ministry partners coming up on Tuesday, the 24th. They're going to have a volunteer orientation. Easy for me to say. This is for women in need, okay? We've got a little bit of information about that on the back wall on your way out. If you have an interest in how you can serve women in need, what does this look like? How can I volunteer? Where do I plug in? We've got a flyer back there with a little bit more information, but they're going to host their volunteer orientation right here at the Quest Church Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30. So if that interests you, again, stop by the information wall, grab one of those flyers on your way out so you'll have a little bit more information about what women in need are and how they can serve our community. Church, we love you guys so much. Hopefully we didn't offend you too bad this morning. Hopefully just enough to get you thinking and get you looking upstairs to Daddy and see how he can help you through this life. So we look forward for y'all to come back next week as Pastor Aaron kicks off week 2 of Unoffendable. Thanks, y'all.